very popular upgrade in the C3 community is Fiero Seats. That's right, the Pontiac Fiero bucket seats are a very close match in width and size. Overall, just the dimensions of them are very close to the C3 stock seats. But of course, you're getting, a much better seat, lateral control much better, and it's the foam and the modern foam instead of the springs. So if your seats are trash, like mine were, then going to the Fiero upgrades are nice. Now, these are Fiero seats that I picked up on eBay. I got them both for under $100, and they're gonna need some work. So this video is gonna show you how to install Fiero seats in your C3 Corvette. So the first thing we're gonna do is take a look at the rails. All right, from the assembly manual, you'll see that the C3 74 came with basically bucket seats. Mine's a convertible, so we wouldn't have the shoulder strap up here at the top on the seat belts, but they're adjustable on the right hand side of each seat, so here and here. All right, so here are the rails. These are the rails that are that mount under the seat. So the seat itself is going to mount basically 2 bolts on each rail, a bolt in the front and a bolt in the back here and here. Now I have, of course, 4 rails, and they're laid out as if they would be sitting in the car. So the adjustment level, or the adjustment lever on each seat, is on the person's right side. Now I'm looking at it as I'm looking at the seat, so it's on the left side. But if you were sitting in the seat, you would reach down with your right hand and pull the adjustment level. All right, and so the mounting brackets that are the mounting screws that go into the floorboard, of course, are here, the top ones. And then in the back, it depends on, it's only 1 bolt, and it depends on which side it's on. So on this one, you can see there was the bolt, but this one was empty. And on this one, the bolt was here, and this was empty. And you can see the bolt was here, that one was empty, and the bolt was there, and that one was empty. So there's a little fluctuation on the back bolts. It's not 2 back bolts, it's only 1, but which bolt goes in depends on which rail it is. Now, the real problem here is, how do I get these mounting brackets or these rails to mount underneath the Fiero seats? And so that's our next project. All right, so here's underneath. This is the passenger seat, and you will see that we have screw holes there, 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 and there. And you'll be tempted. You'll be like, oh, of course, let's just put these brackets on this seat. And you'd be about 1.25 inches off. So the brackets on the C3 Corvette are exactly 15.5 inches center to center of each bolt hole. And the brackets for this, the Fiero, is 16.25. So you cannot use the stock holes. You have to build brackets, or you have to build basically a bracket for the bracket. That doesn't make much sense, but yeah, it's a bracket for the bracket, and I will show you what we're going to do there. So this is a build sheet, and I will include a link to this picture so you can download it yourself in the comments below. But this is a build sheet for what the bracket's going to have to look like. And you'll see these are 4 brackets, and these 2, which are the same, that'll be the bracket for the rail that does not have the adjustment. And these 2 will be the brackets for the rails that do have the adjustment. And the reason why you're going to have this little bend is because of that right there. You're gonna build a bracket that goes, and it's gotta clear that hump so you could still use this. And so it's gotta come up about, I think it's about between 1/4 and 3/8 of an inch up to clear that. And so you build it out of 2" by 1/8" steel bar, and you're just going to build it to the build sheet. Like I said, I'm going to have a link to this picture below, so you'll have the entire build sheet. But the first thing you're going to do is cut the bars 16 inches exactly, and we'll get going on that. All right, the first thing we do with these 2" by 1/8" steel bars is cut them to 16 inches. Now, it's for 2 of the bars, it's exactly 16 inches. The other 2, you have to put the bend in first, then cut them to 16 inches. So right now we're gonna make 2 cuts just right at 16 inches. All right, now we have 2 16-inch bars, and these bars were 3 feet long, so these are 20-inch bars over here. These 2 bars are going to be for the non-adjustable lever side, and these 2 are going to be for the lever side, but first we have to put that 1/4 to 3/8 bend in the center. So let's do that now. So just so you can see what's going on, those are one set of rails, and then this is going to basically sit like that on a rail. And of course, if we did the same thing, we would have a problem. So we have to put this bend here, and we have to put the bend in before we make the cut. So because the bend is gonna make the 16 inches shorter, overall shorter, but with the bend it'll be 16 inches from point to point. So to make the bend, you can use a lot of different methods. You can heat up this metal, you can take it to an anvil, you can beat it. I don't really have a forge or an anvil, so I'm gonna use the score method. And that is just taking your DeWalt cutting tool, and you're just gonna score right here, making a weak spot in the metal. You're gonna score right here, making a weak spot in the metal. Then you're gonna come in just a little bit, score the other side, and that's gonna give you the bend. So let's see how that works. All right, you can see the bend right there. Now, about these scores, you don't wanna score it too much, because every time you score this piece of metal, it's gonna weaken it. And this piece of metal is what's holding your seat onto the frame. So kind of an important piece. You don't want to get in an accident and this piece fail. But the deeper the score, the easier the bend. But the deeper the score, the more weak this piece of metal, this bracket's going to be. So just be careful. That only took me about 5 minutes on a bench vise. All right, there's my second one. I actually like my second one better than my first. My first one is probably 1/4 inch, and my second one is probably 3/8. The 3/8 definitely works better. It completely clears this little lip right here. The 1/4 inch clears it, but there's a little rubbing. I don't think it's gonna matter. I'll oil that up pretty good and we'll be good to go, or I may try to bend this one a little bit more. So now that you have your bend in your bar, you're gonna mark 16 inches on the flat. Make the mark, make a straight line, and then do a cut. All right, so this should look familiar. This is an exact copy of our picture, and the next step is to drill holes, and to do that we need to look back at our guide and then mark our holes accordingly. All right, so here are the first 4 holes that are drilled on one set. You can see that the indention side here, and obviously the seat's flipped upside down, so this is the indention side, and that's where the lever will go, and then this is the straight side. I'm using the original bolts that came out of the Fiero, and you will see that if you follow the bolt pattern and the template, that these holes here are exactly 1/2 inch from the side of the plate, 1/2 inch in, and then this hole to this hole, it really doesn't matter where you are on the plate as long as this hole down here to this hole up here is exactly 13 7/8. And so this is what it looks like with 4 of the holes drilled, and now there'll be 4 more drilled so I can get the C3 rails mounted. So that's next. All right, so now the C3 rails are mounted, and that is basically a final product. The key is these 2 holes here and here. From the center line of this hole to the center line of this hole must be exactly 15 1/2 inch. Mine, I measured, it's exactly 15 1/2 inch. That will mean that the bolt pattern on the floor of your C3, which is right there and there, is exactly 15 1/2 inch. Now your rails line up perfectly. And that is how you create a bracket so your C3 rails will mount on the bottom of Fiero Seats. Now, that's the end of this video. However, Mr. Mike's down in Florida is right now, hopefully, working on some seat covers for these Fiero Seats. And so we'll have something to show you guys later, the final product. Thanks for watching this video. If you like it, please subscribe, throw a like down there, and ask me any questions. Thanks a lot.